The crystal chandelier above
Sir,
table
you
7
have a
caught the light
tattoo
as
like my
Catherine Hayes
mother.
dropped her notepad. Her hands trembled so violently that the pen clattered against the marble floor of the Sterling Heights restaurant. Across from her sat billionaire tech mogul Robert Mitchell, his sleeve rolled up just enough to reveal it, a crimson phoenix rising from blue flames, identical down to the last feather curl on his forearm, the exact same tattoo her mother had shown her every night before bed, the one she'd trace with tiny fingers while Mama whispered stories about firebirds and second chances. Is something wrong? Robert asked, his salt and pepper eyebrows drawing together. Catherine's throat closed. 23 years of questions suddenly crashed into this single moment. Her vision blurred at the edges as she pointed at his arm with a shaking finger. My mother has a tattoo just like yours. The color drained from Robert Mitchell's face like someone had pulled a plug. His water glass tipped over, ice cubes scattering across the white tablecloth, but he didn't move, didn't breathe. Just stared at Catherine with eyes that had gone from calm blue to storm cloud gray in half a heartbeat. What did you say? His voice came out barely louder than a whisper. But before Catherine could repeat herself, before she could ask the million questions burning holes in her chest, Robert's dining companion, a sharp-eyed woman in a blood-red suit, stood abruptly. Robert, we need to leave, now. And that's when Catherine noticed something that made her blood run cold. The woman wasn't just standing. She was blocking Catherine's view of Robert, positioning herself like a human shield, and her hand had moved to her purse in a way that seemed practiced, protective, dangerous even. What was Robert Mitchell hiding? And why did the mention of her mother's tattoo look like it might destroy him? 3 months earlier, Catherine Hayes had been living a completely different life. Well, not completely different. She'd still been a waitress, still been broke, still been taking night classes at community college while her bank account laughed at her dreams. But she'd been working at Danny's Diner on 5th Street, where the biggest tip she'd ever gotten was $42 from a grandmother who just won at bingo. Then Mama got sick. Not regular sick, not the kind of sick where you take some medicine and feel better in a week. The kind that makes doctors use words like aggressive in stage 4 and experimental treatments. The kind that costs more money than Catherine had ever seen in her entire life. Baby girl, Mama had said from her hospital bed, her voice thin as tissue paper. Don't you worry about these bills. You just focus on your dreams. But Catherine couldn't focus on dreams when reality was a nightmare. The medical bills stacked up like a tower of doom on their kitchen table. $15,000, then $30,000. Then numbers so big Catherine stopped opening the envelopes because seeing them made her chest hurt. That's when she'd heard about the Sterling Heights. They tip in hundreds there, her friend Becca had told her, while they restock ketchup bottles at Danny's. Sometimes thousands. Rich people throwing money around like confetti. But you gotta look the part, you know? Fancy restaurant, fancy expectations. Catherine had gone home that night and looked at her reflection in their apartment's cracked bathroom mirror. She'd seen tired eyes that belonged to someone twice her age, hands roughened from double shifts, hair pulled back in the same ponytail she'd worn since high school because she couldn't afford a real haircut. But she'd also seen Mama's daughter, and Mama's daughter was a fighter. The interview at the Sterling Heights had been terrifying. The manager, a thin man named Gregory with glasses that kept sliding down his nose, had looked at her resume like it was written in crayon. You've never worked fine dining before, he'd said. It wasn't a question. No, sir, but I'm a fast learner. And I work harder than anyone you'll ever meet. Gregory had studied her for a long moment. Then he'd sighed. We're short-staffed for the evening shift. You get 1 week to prove yourself. Don't make me regret this. Catherine hadn't made him regret it. She'd memorized the menu in 2 days, learned which fork went where, which wine paired with which dish, how to pronounce bourguignon and bouillabaisse without stumbling. She smiled until her cheeks ached. Moved through the restaurant like a ghost. There when needed, invisible when not. The tips were real. $50 one night, $120 the next. Once, a movie producer left her $300 just for recommencing the sea bass. For the first time in months, Catherine had felt something like hope. But working at the Sterling Heights meant serving people who lived in a different universe. People who spent more on one meal than Mama's medication cost for a week. People like the Vanderbilt family who came in every Tuesday and complained that their private jet had been delayed. Like the Rothman sisters, who each ordered separate entrees just to take one bite and send them back. Like Robert Mitchell. Robert Mitchell was different, though. He always came in alone or with business associates, never the parade of hangers-on that followed other wealthy regulars. He said please and thank you, asked Catherine how her day was and actually listened to the answer. Left generous tips without making a show of it. "You're studying psychology?" he'd asked one evening, 3 weeks into her employment, noticing the textbook she'd been reading during her break. "Yes, sir, at Westside Community College. Night classes when I can make them." "That's admirable. Education is the best investment." He'd pause, then added quietly, "My mother used to say that. She cleaned offices at night to put herself through nursing school." It was the most personal thing he'd ever shared. Catherine had felt a strange kinship in that moment. This billionaire with his mother's wisdom, her with Mama's strength. She'd never imagined that 5 weeks later, she'd be standing at his table, staring at a tattoo that shattered everything she thought she knew about her life. The phoenix on Robert's arm was perfect. Too perfect. Every detail matched the one Mama had, right down to the small constellation of stars near the bird's tail feathers. 7 stars arranged in a pattern Catherine had memorized from counting them as a child. Mom had always been mysterious about that tattoo. "It's from a time before you," she'd say when Catherine asked. "A different life." She'd smile, but it was the sad kind of smile that made little Catherine stop asking questions she sensed had answers Mama didn't want to give. Now, standing in the Sterling Heights with her heart hammering against her ribs, Catherine wondered what different life Mama had meant. Robert Mitchell had gone very still. His companion, the woman in red, had her phone out now, typing rapidly with her thumbs. She kept glancing between Robert and Catherine like she was calculating something, measuring some invisible threat. "How old are you?" Robert's question came out rough, like gravel and broken glass. 23. "I'll be 24 in August." Something flickered across his face. Math. He was doing math in his head. Catherine could practically see the wheels turning, years counting backward, dates aligning into patterns she didn't understand yet, but could feel pressing against her skin like static electricity before a storm. "Your mother's name," Robert said, and it wasn't a question this time. It was a demand wrapped in desperation. "Tell me your mother's name." "Robert, don't do this here," the red-suited woman hissed. "Think about what you're saying. Think about the consequences." But Catherine had already opened her mouth, already started forming the word. Jennifer Hayes, she..." The crash came from the restaurant's entrance. Every head in the dining room turned as a man in a black suit burst through the doors, his eyes scanning the room with military precision. He spotted Robert's table and started moving through the crowd like a shark through water. "Mr. Mitchell, we need to go. Now." His hand was already under Robert's elbow, lifting him from his chair with practiced efficiency. "Security breach. Photographers outside. Someone tipped them off about your location." But Robert wasn't looking at the security guard. He was staring at Catherine with an expression she couldn't name. Horror, recognition, hope? All three crashed together in his eyes like waves meeting rock. "Find me," he said as the guard pulled him toward the kitchen exit. "Catherine Hayes, find me. I'll leave instructions at the front desk. Tomorrow, noon, please." Then he was gone, swept away by a tide of security personnel who had materialized from nowhere. The red-suited woman followed, but not before giving Catherine a look that could have frozen fire. The restaurant erupted into whispers. Gregory appeared at Catherine's elbow, his face flushed. "What just happened? What did you say to him?" Catherine couldn't answer. She was staring at the wet spot on the tablecloth where Robert's water had spilled, at the abandoned napkin, at the chair pushed back too fast. She was thinking about Mama's tattoo and Robert's tattoo and the impossible mathematics of matching phoenixes. She was thinking about how Robert had looked at her, really looked at her, like he was seeing a ghost. Or a daughter. The thought hit her so hard she had to grip the table for balance. No, that was crazy. That was impossible. Mama had always said Catherine's father was gone, that he'd left before Catherine was born. that it was just the two of them against the world. But Mama had also said the tattoo was from a different life. What different life? Catherine's shift ended at midnight. She rode the bus home in a daze, the city lights blurring past the dirty windows. Their apartment was dark when she arrived. Mama was already asleep, the soft beep of the heart monitor keeping rhythm with Catherine's racing thoughts. She stood in the doorway of Mama's room, watching the rise and fall of the blanket. In the dim light from the hallway, she could just make out the edge of the phoenix tattoo on Mama's shoulder, the crimson and blue flames peeking above the hospital gown. "I met someone today," Catherine whispered to the sleeping room. "Someone with your tattoo." Mama didn't stir. The monitor beeped, the ancient radiator clanked. Catherine walked to her own room, a closet-sized space with a bed and a desk and walls covered in sticky notes. Study schedules, bill payment reminders, dreams written in purple ink. She sat on the bed and pulled out her phone. Robert Mitchell, billionaire, tech industry pioneer. She knew these things already from serving him, from overhearing conversations. But now she typed his name into the search bar with shaking fingers. The results flooded her screen. Forbes articles, magazine covers, a Wikipedia page longer than her college essays. She scrolled past the business achievements, the company acquisitions, the charity foundations. Then she found it. Buried 6 pages deep in search results, a 24-year-old article from the Metropolitan Times. The headline made her heart stop. Tech entrepreneur Robert Mitchell calls off. Wedding following mysterious disappearance of fiancé. Catherine's hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the phone. She forced herself to keep reading. Robert Mitchell, 28, has officially called off his planned wedding to Jennifer Hayes, 25, following her unexplained disappearance 3 weeks before the ceremony. Sources close to the couple report that Hayes vanished without warning, leaving only a brief note. Mitchell has declined to comment on the situation, though friends say he is devastated. Hayes' whereabouts remain unknown. The article was dated August 15th, 24 years ago, 4 months before Catherine was born. The phone slipped from Catherine's fingers onto the bed. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The room was spinning like she'd stepped onto a carnival ride that wouldn't stop. Jennifer Hayes, her mother, Robert Mitchell's fiancée, 24 years ago, 4 months before Catherine was born. The math was so simple a child could do it, but the implications were so enormous Catherine couldn't fit them inside her brain. She stood up, sat down, stood up again, walked to Mama's room and stood in the doorway, staring at the woman who'd raised her, who'd worked 3 jobs to keep them fed, who'd never once mentioned being engaged to a billionaire. "Why?" Catherine whispered. "Why did you leave him? Why did you run?" But Mama slept on, and the secret slept with her. Catherine barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Robert Mitchell's face when she'd mentioned the tattoo. That look of shock and hope and something else. Something that looked like grief wrapped around the bones of long-buried love. At 7 in the morning, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Miss Hayes?" The voice was professional, female, efficient. "My name is Patricia Wells. I'm Mr. Mitchell's personal assistant. He asked me to call you regarding an appointment." Catherine's mouth went dry. "The front desk," he said noon. "Yes, however, given the circumstances, Mr. Mitchell would like to meet somewhere more private. Are you available at 1 o'clock this afternoon? I have a shift. He's prepared to compensate you for any lost wages. And Miss Hayes? He asked me to tell you something specific. He said to tell you that the phoenix isn't just a tattoo. It's a promise. He said you'd understand what that means, or at least your mother would." Catherine's eyes burned. "Where?" Patricia gave her an address in the financial district. "Use the private elevator. Security will be expecting you." The call ended. Catherine sat on her bed, holding the phone like it might explode. Through the thin walls, she could hear Mama stirring, the sounds of morning routine, the nurse arriving for the day shift. She needed to talk to Mama, needed to ask the questions that had been building for 23 years, waiting for this moment. But when she walked into Mama's room, the words died in her throat, because Mama was already awake, tears streaming down her face, staring at her phone like it contained every nightmare she'd ever tried to outrun. "Catherine," Mama whispered, her voice breaking on the name. "What have you done?" On Mama's phone screen was a news alert. The headline was in bold: "Billionaire Robert Mitchell cancels all meetings, searches for mystery, waitress who may hold key to decades-old scandal." Someone had leaked the story. In less than 12 hours, Catherine's entire life had become news. And worse, someone had included a photo. Catherine, standing at table 7, pointing at Robert's tattoo. The image was grainy, taken from across the restaurant, but clear enough. Clear enough for anyone looking at both their faces to see what Catherine was only now starting to believe. They had the same eyes, the same sharp chin, the same way of tilting their head when surprised. Catherine looked exactly like Robert Mitchell looked in photos from 24 years ago. "Mama," Catherine said slowly, carefully, like she was diffusing a bomb made of words. "Is Robert Mitchell my father?" Jennifer Hayes closed her eyes. A tear tracked down her cheek. The heart monitor beeped faster, matching the racing panic in her chest. "Yes," she breathed. "God help us both. Yes." And then, before Catherine could respond, before she could process the world-shattering confirmation of what she'd only suspected, Mama's monitor started shrieking. The numbers on the screen were dropping. Fast. The hospital room exploded into chaos. Mama's body went rigid, her back arching off the bed like an invisible hand had grabbed her spine. The heart monitor's steady beep turned into a continuous scream that split Catherine's skull in half. Numbers flashed red on the screen, oxygen levels plummeting, heart rate spiking, then diving, then spiking again, like a drowning swimmer fighting for air. "Mama!" Catherine lunged forward, grabbing her mother's hand. The skin was cold, too cold, like touching marble in winter. The day nurse, Deborah, burst through the door, her coffee mug shattering against the floor. "What happened? What did you say to her?" She was already hitting the emergency call button, already pulling the crash cart closer, already moving with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd seen this dance too many times. "I just asked her a question," Catherine sobbed. "I didn't mean to. I didn't know." More nurses flooded in. Then a doctor Catherine had never seen before, young with tired eyes and hands that moved like hummingbird wings. Someone pushed Catherine back against the wall. Someone else was putting an oxygen mask on Mama's face. The doctor was shouting numbers that meant nothing to Catherine, but made all the nurses move faster. "She's in atrial fibrillation. Get me the paddles, now." Catherine couldn't move, couldn't breathe, could only watch as they tore open Mama's hospital gown, as they placed the defibrillator paddles against her chest, as the doctor yelled, "Clear!" and Mama's whole body jumped like a fish on a hook. Nothing. The monitor kept screaming. "Again! Charging to 200! Clear!" Mama jumped again. This time, the monitor's scream changed pitch, became a beep, irregular, stuttering, but a beep. The numbers started climbing, slowly, so slowly. The doctor wiped sweat from his forehead. "We've got sinus rhythm, weak but stable. Get her on a continuous monitor and increase the oxygen. I want labs drawn immediately." Deborah was suddenly at Catherine's side, her hand firm on Catherine's shoulder. "You need to step outside, sweetheart." "But she's my mother. And she just had a cardiac event that nearly killed her. The doctor needs space to work. Come on." Deborah's voice was kind but left no room for argument. She guided Catherine into the hallway, into a plastic chair that smelled like disinfectant and broken dreams. "What happened in there? Your mother was stable this morning. What changed?" Catherine opened her mouth, closed it. What could she say? "I told my dying mother that I discovered her secret, the one she's been hiding for 24 years, and it literally almost killed her." "We had a difficult conversation," Catherine managed. Deborah's eyes narrowed. She'd been a nurse for 30 years. She could smell a lie from 3 floors away. But she just sighed. "Whatever it was, it needs to wait. Your mother's heart can't take any more stress. Do you understand? Any more shock to her system right now could be fatal." Fatal. The word sat in Catherine's chest like a stone. She sat in that hallway chair for 2 hours. Nurses came and went. A patient shuffled past with an IV pole. Somewhere down the hall, a television played a game show. Wheel of Fortune. Someone won a car. There was applause. Catherine's phone buzzed. 17 missed calls. 32 text messages. She scrolled through them with numb fingers. Becca from Danny's Diner. OMG, is that you on the news? Gregory from the Sterling Heights. You're fired. Don't come back. Unknown number. I'll pay you $50,000 for an exclusive interview about Robert Mitchell. Another unknown number. Is it true you're his secret daughter? Call me. 3 more reporters. 5 more strangers. 1 message from her community college advisor asking if everything was okay because someone had called the school asking questions. And 1 from Patricia Wells, Robert Mitchell's assistant. Mr. Mitchell has seen the news. He still wants to meet. The offer stands. 1 o'clock. Please come. Catherine stared at that last message. Please come. Like she was the one with power here. Like she wasn't sitting in a hospital hallway with a fired job, a dying mother, and a truth that had literally stopped Mama's heart. The doctor emerged at noon. He looked even more exhausted than before. She's stable, he said before Catherine could ask. But Miss Hayes, your mother's condition has deteriorated significantly. The stress triggered what we call a cardiac event. Her heart is weak. Any additional stress could cause another episode, and next time, we might not be able to bring her back. Catherine's vision blurred. How long does she have? The doctor hesitated. That hesitation told Catherine everything. With her current trajectory, maybe a few weeks, maybe less. I'm sorry. A few weeks, maybe less. The words echoed in Catherine's skull like someone had rung a bell made of grief. Can I see her? She's sleeping. The sedatives will keep her under for a few hours. We need to give her body time to recover. The doctor put a hand on Catherine's arm. The touch was gentle, practiced. He'd delivered this kind of news before. Go home, get some rest. There's nothing you can do right now. But there was something Catherine could do. She checked the time on her phone. 12:15. The address Patricia had given her was 30 minutes away. Catherine stood up. Her legs felt like water, but they held. She took the bus downtown, watching the city change through the window. The buildings got taller. The cars got shinier. The people on the sidewalks moved faster, their phones glued to their faces, their clothes worth more than Catherine's monthly rent. The address led to a tower of glass and steel that seemed to scrape the clouds. Mitchell Technologies. The logo blazed across the entrance in letters 3 feet tall. Security stopped her at the door. Name? Catherine Hayes. I have an appointment with Mr. Mitchell. The guard checked his tablet. His eyebrows climbed his forehead. Yes, ma'am. Private elevator, straight ahead. 42nd floor. The elevator was all mirrors and gold trim. Catherine watched her reflection multiply into infinity. She looked like she'd been hit by a truck. Her waitress uniform was wrinkled. Her hair was a disaster. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. She looked exactly like someone whose life had imploded in less than 24 hours. The 42nd floor opened into a reception area that cost more than Catherine would make in 10 years. Everything was marble and mahogany and abstract art that probably had meanings she'd need a PhD to understand. Patricia Wells stood waiting. She was 50-something, with steel gray hair and a suit that could cut glass. Miss Hayes, thank you for coming. Her eyes scanned Catherine with the efficiency of a high-powered scanner. Are you all right? You look unwell. My mother had a heart attack this morning. Patricia's professional mask cracked for just a second. I'm so sorry. Would you like to reschedule? No, I'm here. Let's do this. Patricia nodded and led Catherine down a hallway lined with photographs. Robert Mitchell through the years, shaking hands with presidents, accepting awards, standing in front of buildings with his name on them. And there at the end of the hall, a photo that made Catherine stop breathing. It was old, the color slightly faded. Robert Mitchell at maybe 25, his arm around a young woman with dark hair and a smile that could light cities. They stood on a beach somewhere, the sunset painting them gold. The woman wore a sundress and had one hand raised, showing off an engagement ring that caught the light. The woman was Mama, 24 years younger, but unmistakably Mama. He's kept that photograph for 24 years, Patricia said quietly. It's the only picture he has of her. She took everything else when she left. Catherine couldn't look away from the photo, from Mama's smile. She'd never seen Mama smile like that. like the whole world was made of possibility and joy. "Why did she leave?" Catherine whispered. "That," said a voice from behind her, "is what I've spent 24 years wondering." Catherine turned. Robert Mitchell stood in an office doorway, and in the afternoon light streaming through the windows, the family resemblance was impossible to deny. Same eyes, same nose, same way of standing, like gravity pulled a little different on them than on everyone else. He looked like he'd aged 10 years overnight. "Hello, Catherine," he said. "I think we have a lot to talk about." Robert Mitchell's office was enormous. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city like a kingdom, but Catherine barely noticed. She was too busy staring at the man, who was apparently her father, trying to reconcile the stranger with the regular customer from table 7, with the person whose DNA she carried in every cell. "Sit, please," Robert said, gesturing to a leather chair that probably cost more than Mama's medical bills. He sat across from her, and for a long moment they just looked at each other. "You have her eyes," he finally said. "Jennifer's eyes. I noticed the first time I saw you at the restaurant, but I thought I was imagining things, seeing what I wanted to see. I've done that a lot over the years." Catherine's hands twisted in her lap. She admitted it this morning. Right before her heart gave out, she said, "Yes, you're my father," and then she coded. Robert's face went white. "Is she alive?" "Barely. The doctor said any more stress could kill her." Catherine's voice came out harder than she intended. "So whatever questions you have, whatever you want to know, it needs to wait, because I can't lose her. Not now. Not when I just found out everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie." Robert leaned back in his chair. He looked like he wanted to say something, but the words wouldn't come. Finally, he managed, "Tell me about her. Tell me about Jennifer. Is she happy? Did she have a good life?" The question broke something in Catherine's chest. "Happy? She's dying, Mr. Mitchell. Stage 4 cancer. She's been cleaning houses and working night shifts at a laundromat for 23 years to keep us fed. We've lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with pipes that freeze in winter since I was born. She's never dated anyone, never remarried, never talked about my father except to say he was gone. Does that sound happy to you?" Each word was a knife. Catherine watched them land, watched Robert flinch like she was physically hitting him. "I looked for her," he said, his voice rough, "for years, hired private investigators, offered rewards, but she'd vanished completely. Changed her name, I think. Covered her tracks. It was like she'd never existed." "Why?" Catherine leaned forward. "Why would she run from you? From all this?" She gestured at the office, at the wealth surrounding them. "People don't leave billionaires unless there's a reason." Robert stood and walked to the window. His reflection in the glass looked haunted. "I wasn't a billionaire when she left. I was just a kid with a startup and too much ambition. The company took off 6 months after she disappeared. The money came later, but by then she was gone, and I couldn't find her." "That's not an answer, because I don't have one." He turned to face her. "We were happy, Catherine, or I thought we were. We'd just gotten engaged. She was working as a nurse at Mercy General. I was coding in my apartment 16 hours a day, trying to get the company off the ground. We were broke and in love and planning a wedding we couldn't afford. And then one morning I woke up and she was gone. Just a note that said, 'I'm sorry. Please don't look for me. This is for the best.'" Catherine tried to imagine Mama at 25, in love with this man, planning a future. Tried to match that image with the tired, sick woman in the hospital bed. There has to be more. People don't just leave. That's what I told myself. So I searched. I called her friends, her family. No one knew where she'd gone. Or if they did, they wouldn't tell me. Her mother, your grandmother, told me Jennifer had made her choice, and I needed to respect it. Then she moved away too. I lost everyone." Robert's voice cracked. "I lost everything." "She was pregnant," Catherine said. The words felt like stones in her mouth. "She left you, and 4 months later, I was born. Did you ever think maybe that was why?" "Of course I thought that. I thought everything. But why wouldn't she tell me? Why run?" Robert's hands clenched into fists. "I would have taken care of you both. I would have given you everything. Maybe that was the problem." The words hung in the air between them. Robert stared at Catherine like she'd just spoken a foreign language. What do you mean? Catherine thought about Mama, about her pride, about the way she'd worked herself to the bone rather than accept charity, about how she'd always told Catherine that the only thing a person truly owns is their choices. Mama's stubborn, independent. Maybe she didn't want to be taken care of. Maybe she wanted to do it herself. Even if it meant our daughter grew up without a father, the pain in Robert's voice could have filled oceans. Even if it meant I missed 23 years of your life, Catherine had no answer for that. Because yes, that's exactly what Mama had chosen, and Catherine didn't understand it any more than he did. Patricia knocked and entered with a tray. Coffee, water, small sandwiches that looked like art. I thought you might need sustenance, she said, setting the tray down. She gave Robert a meaningful look. Also, the calls haven't stopped. CNN wants a statement. So does Forbes, and your mother called. Robert's jaw tightened. Tell them all I'm unavailable. Your mother says it's urgent. My mother always says it's urgent. Robert waved a hand dismissively. Handle it, Patricia. Please. After Patricia left, Robert poured coffee with shaking hands. My family's going to be a nightmare about this. Fair warning. My mother values reputation above all else. This situation, he gestured between them, is exactly the kind of scandal she spent her life avoiding. I'm the scandal. Catherine felt anger building in her chest, hot and sharp. No, God, no, that's not what I meant. Robert set down the coffee pot before he dropped it. I mean the circumstances, the secrets, the press. It's going to be a circus, and she's going to want to control the narrative. What narrative? The truth is simple. You got my mother pregnant. She left. End of story. Nothing is ever that simple. Robert looked at her with an expression Catherine couldn't quite read. Catherine, I want to help. With your mother's medical bills, with school, with whatever you need. Please, let me do this. Let me make up for 23 years of not being there. Catherine wanted to say yes. God, she wanted to say yes so badly her teeth ached. The medical bills alone would bury them. And Mama needed treatments they couldn't afford, treatments that might buy her a few more months. But accepting money from Robert Mitchell felt like betraying Mama, like spitting on every choice Mama had made, every sacrifice. I need to think about it, Catherine said. Robert nodded slowly. I understand. But Catherine, please think quickly. If your mother's condition is as serious as you say, time is something we don't have much of. The words landed like a punch. Because he was right. Time was running out. For Mama, for answers, for everything. Catherine stood. I need to get back to the hospital. Let me drive you. I have a car. No. The word came out sharper than she intended. I need time to process this. Alone. Robert looked like he wanted to argue but didn't. Instead, he pulled out a business card and wrote something on the back. My personal cell phone. Call anytime. Day or night. Please. Catherine took the card. Their fingers brushed, and she felt a jolt of recognition. Genetic memory. DNA acknowledging DNA. One more thing, Robert said as Catherine reached the door. The tattoo. The phoenix. Do you know why your mother got it? Catherine turned. She said it represented second chances, rising from ashes. Starting over. Something flashed across Robert's face. Understanding. Pain. We got them together, the day after I proposed. We were young and drunk and in love, and we thought we'd be together forever. The phoenix was supposed to be our symbol, our promise, that no matter what happened, we'd always rise together. Catherine looked at the business card in her hand, at the number that connected her to a father she'd never known. Funny how promises work out. She left before Robert could respond, took the elevator down 42 floors, walked out into the city that suddenly felt foreign, like she'd traveled to a different planet where everything looked the same, but nothing was. Her phone buzzed. A text from Deborah, the nurse. Your mother's awake. She's asking for you. Says it's urgent. Catherine caught a cab. Spent money she didn't have because she couldn't wait for the bus. Mama was sitting up when Catherine burst into the room, and despite the oxygen tubes and the monitors, she looked more alert than she had in days. Baby girl, Mama said, and her voice was stronger too. We need to talk. Right now, before I lose my nerve. Catherine sat in the plastic visitor's chair. Mama, the doctor said no stress. The doctor can go to hell. I'm dying anyway. Might as well die telling the truth. Mama reached for Catherine's hand. Her grip was weak but determined. I'm going to tell you everything. Why I left Robert. Why I kept you from him. All of it. But you need to promise me something first. Anything. Mama's eyes filled with tears. Promise me that after you hear what I have to say, you'll understand. You might not forgive me, but please, please try to understand. Catherine felt dread crawling up her spine like spiders. Mama, what did you do? I didn't leave Robert because I didn't love him, Mama said. I left because I loved him too much. Because staying would have destroyed him. Because the door burst open. A woman swept in like a hurricane in Chanel. She was maybe 60, with blonde hair pulled into a severe bun and eyes that could freeze fire. Behind her came two men in dark suits, clearly security. Jennifer Hayes, the woman said, and her voice could have cut diamond. Or should I say Jennifer Collins? After 24 years, we finally meet again. Mama's face went sheet white. The heart monitor started beeping faster. Victoria, Mama whispered. Oh, God, Victoria Mitchell. The woman smiled, but it wasn't friendly. Hello, Jennifer. I see you've been busy filling my granddaughter's head with lies. Well, that ends now. She turned to Catherine. Did she tell you why she really left? Did she mention the money? The extortion? Or did she paint herself as some tragic heroine? Catherine stood. Who are you? What are you talking about? I'm your grandmother, dear. Robert's mother. And I'm here to tell you the truth your mother doesn't want you to know. Victoria Mitchell pulled an envelope from her purse and dropped it on Mama's bed. The truth about the $5 million she took when she disappeared. The room went silent, except for the heart monitor, which was now racing like a drumbeat of panic. Catherine looked at Mama, at her stricken face, at her trembling hands. Mama! Catherine's voice came out small, childlike. Is that true? And Mama, her dying mother who'd worked 3 jobs and worn shoes with holes in them for 23 years, closed her eyes and whispered, yes. The world tilted sideways. Catherine grabbed the bed rail to keep from falling, but the room kept spinning anyway, like someone had knocked Earth off its axis and forgotten to tell gravity which way was down. $5 million? Catherine's voice didn't sound like her own. It sounded like someone else, someone watching this scene from very far away. Mama, you took $5 million? Victoria Mitchell crossed her arms, satisfaction radiating from her like heat from a furnace. Oh, it gets better. Tell her, Jennifer. Tell her about the contract, about the NDA, about how you signed away all your rights to Robert and his future in exchange for blood money. Mama's hands were shaking so violently she couldn't hold the blanket. Tears streamed down her face, dripping onto the hospital gown. Catherine, please, let me explain. Explain what? Catherine's voice cracked like breaking glass. Explain how we've been living in poverty while you had $5 million hidden somewhere? Explain how I've watched you work yourself to death when you could have... She couldn't finish, couldn't breathe. The betrayal was so massive it had its own gravity, pulling her down and down and down. I didn't keep it, Mama sobbed. I gave it away. Every penny. I couldn't live with myself if I kept it. Victoria laughed, cold and sharp. Oh, this just gets more pathetic. You threw away $5 million out of guilt? How noble. How utterly stupid. Get out. Catherine turned to Victoria, and something in her expression made the older woman take a step back. I don't care who you are. Get out of my mother's room. Now. I'm trying to help you, child. Your mother is a liar and a... Out! Catherine's scream echoed off the hospital walls. Deborah came running. So did another nurse. Victoria's security guards moved forward, but Victoria waved them off. Fine. But Catherine, when you're ready to hear the whole truth, not just her version, you know where to find me. Victoria dropped another business card on the foot of Mama's bed. Robert doesn't know I'm here. He'd be furious if he knew. He still believes in fairy tales. But you deserve to know what kind of woman raised you. Then she swept out, her perfume lingering like a threat. Deborah checked Mama's monitors, Her mouth set in a grim line. "Mrs. Hayes, your heart rate is through the roof. We need to sedate you." "No," Mama gasped, reaching for Catherine. "Please, baby girl, let me explain. You have to understand, I don't have to do anything." Catherine backed toward the door. "My entire life has been a lie. You let me think we were poor because we had no choice. You let me work myself to exhaustion. You let me watch you die slowly because we couldn't afford treatment. And the whole time you'd had $5 million and threw it away? It was poison!" Mama's voice rose to a shout, then cracked into coughing. "That money was poison! I couldn't touch it! I couldn't—" More coughing. The monitors screamed. Deborah was pushing a syringe into Mama's IV. "You need to leave, now, before she has another cardiac event." Catherine stumbled into the hallway. The fluorescent lights were too bright. The walls were too close. Everything was too much. She ran for the elevator, for the exit, for anywhere that wasn't here. Outside, the afternoon sun felt like an insult. The world had no right to be bright and normal when Catherine's entire existence had just shattered into a million pieces. Her phone rang. Robert Mitchell. She declined the call. It rang again. Patricia Wells. Declined. A text from Robert. "My mother just called me. Catherine, please, let me explain. She had no right to ambush you like that." Catherine turned off her phone and started walking. No destination, just away. Away from the hospital, away from Mama's lies, away from the Mitchell family and their money and their secrets that kept multiplying like cancer cells. She walked for hours, through neighborhoods that went from bad to worse to terrifying, past boarded-up buildings and people who eyed her like she was dinner. She didn't care. Let them try something. Let the whole world try something. She was so numb she probably wouldn't even feel it. The sun was setting when she found herself at Riverside Park, on a bench overlooking water that looked like oil in the fading light. Her feet were bleeding in her waitress shoes. Her uniform was soaked with sweat. But she couldn't move, couldn't think past the images playing on repeat in her skull. Mama signing papers, Mama taking money, Mama leaving Robert and disappearing with a fortune, while Catherine grew up in apartments with cockroaches and mold. Why? Why would anyone do that? "Catherine Hayes?" A woman's voice, uncertain and gentle. "I thought that was you." Catherine looked up. The woman from the restaurant stood there, the one in the red suit who'd been with Robert. Up close, she looked younger than Catherine had first thought. Maybe 35. Her suit was different today, navy blue but just as expensive. "I don't want to talk to anyone," Catherine said flatly. "I understand. I'm Emma Reeves. I'm Robert's lawyer." Emma sat on the bench without being invited. "I've known Robert for 8 years. I've never seen him as shattered as he was yesterday when you showed him that tattoo." "Good for him. He can join the club." Catherine stared at the water. "Everyone's shattered. Everyone's broken. Isn't that great?" Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Victoria Mitchell is a venomous snake who's been controlling Robert's life since he was born. Whatever she told you, whatever she implied, I can almost guarantee it wasn't the whole truth. She said Mama took $5 million and signed away her rights to Robert. Mama confirmed it. What else is there?" "Context." Emma pulled a folder from her briefcase. "I did some digging after yesterday. Called in favors, accessed old files. Victoria made me promise I wouldn't show Robert what I found until I was sure, but I think you need to see this." She opened the folder. Inside were legal documents, yellowed with age. Catherine recognized Mama's signature at the bottom of several pages. Jennifer Collins, her maiden name, signed in handwriting that was shakier than Mama's usual confident script. "This is the contract your mother signed," Emma said. "It's called a termination of parental rights agreement." Victoria drew it up, read the date. Catherine looked. Her blood turned to ice water. "This is dated 3 weeks before I was born." "Exactly. Your mother was 7 months pregnant when she signed this. And look at the clauses. Really read them." Catherine forced herself to focus on the legal language that made her eyes want to cross. Whereas Jennifer Collins agrees to terminate all parental rights. Whereas Jennifer Collins agrees to never contact Robert Mitchell or his family. Whereas Jennifer Collins agrees to never publicly acknowledge the paternity of said child. "This is a gag order," Catherine said slowly. "Mama couldn't tell anyone Robert was my father. She couldn't tell me. It was legally binding." Keep reading. Clause 17. Catherine found it. Her vision blurred as the words sank in. In the event that Jennifer Collins or any child resulting from this pregnancy attempts to contact Robert Mitchell or make any claim on the Mitchell family estate, all payments shall cease immediately, and Jennifer Collins shall be liable for return of all funds received, plus interest and legal fees. She couldn't even tell me he existed, Catherine whispered. If she did, she'd owe back the money, with interest. Over 23 years, that would be approximately $12 million. Emma's voice was hard. Victoria is a lot of things, but stupid isn't one of them. She built a legal cage around your mother. Take the money and disappear forever, or lose everything and be buried in debt. Catherine's hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the papers. But why? Why would Victoria do this? Robert wanted to marry Mama. They were in love. Emma sighed and pulled out another document, a medical record. This is what I found in Victoria's personal files. She keeps everything, the control freak. It's Robert's medical history from when he was 16. Catherine scanned the page. The words jumped out at her like accusations. Genetic disorder, heart condition, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, sudden cardiac death risk, inheritable, genetic counseling recommended before having children. Robert has a heart condition, Emma said quietly, the same one that killed his father at 42. It's hereditary. There's a 50% chance any child of his would inherit it. Victoria has been terrified of Robert having kids his entire adult life. She spent millions on his treatment, on specialists, on anything that might keep him alive. Understanding crashed over Catherine like a wave. She didn't want me to exist. Worse, when Jennifer got pregnant, Victoria saw it as a threat to Robert's health, to the company, to the family legacy. She convinced herself that if Robert had a child, he'd work himself to death trying to provide. She'd already lost her husband to the condition. She couldn't lose her son too. Catherine felt sick. So she paid Mama to disappear. Not at first. At first she offered to pay for Jennifer to terminate the pregnancy. When Jennifer refused, Victoria changed tactics. She told Jennifer that Robert's condition was getting worse, that the stress of a baby would kill him, that if Jennifer really loved Robert, she'd leave and take the burden of fatherhood off his shoulders. The folder had more pages. Catherine flipped through them with numb fingers. Bank statements showing monthly payments of $10,000 to an account in Jennifer's name. Payments that stopped 5 years ago. The payments ended when you turned 18, Emma said. The contract specified child support until adulthood. After that, your mother was on her own again. She gave it all away. Catherine's voice was hollow. She said she gave away all $5 million. The initial payment, yes, I tracked it. Your mother donated every penny to the American Heart Association and the Sudden Cardiac Arrest Foundation, all in anonymous donations. She kept only the monthly payments for basic expenses, and even then, she worked 3 jobs to avoid using more than necessary. Catherine couldn't process it, couldn't fit this new information into the betrayal she'd been nursing. But we were so poor. If she was getting $10,000 a month, your mother's medical bills started 15 years ago. She's been sick for a long time, Catherine. Longer than you probably knew. The cancer was diagnosed 5 years ago, but there were other issues before that. She'd been paying for treatments out of pocket, trying to hide it from you. The monthly payments barely covered her medical costs, let alone rent and food and everything else. The sunset over the river was painting everything blood red. Catherine felt like she was drowning in crimson light. Why didn't she tell me? Why let me think we had nothing? Because the contract forbade it. She couldn't tell you about Robert without risking financial ruin. And maybe, Emma hesitated, maybe because she was ashamed. She'd taken money to abandon the man she loved. She'd let Victoria Mitchell buy her silence. Some guilt doesn't wash off, no matter how good your reasons were. Catherine stood up, sat back down. Her legs wouldn't hold her. Does Robert know about the contract? About what his mother did? No. Victoria handled everything through lawyers. Robert thinks Jennifer left him without explanation. He has no idea his mother orchestrated the whole thing. We have to tell him. Are you sure? Emma closed the folder. This will destroy his relationship with Victoria. She's the only family he has left. And there's something else you should know. She pulled out one final document. I had Robert's medical records pulled. His condition has been worsening over the past 5 years. His doctors have recommended he reduce stress, cut back on work. He's refused. He's been pushing himself harder than ever, building the company into an empire. I think part of him has been running from the grief of losing Jennifer. The work kept him from thinking about what he'd lost. How bad is it? His condition? Emma's expression was grim. Bad enough that I've been updating his will quarterly. He won't talk about it, won't acknowledge it. But Catherine, the stress of learning what his mother did, of discovering he has a daughter he never knew about, of Jennifer dying, she shook her head. I'm worried about him. The next few weeks could be dangerous. Catherine thought about Mama's heart monitor screaming, about the doctor's warning. Any more stress could kill her. Everyone's dying. Everything's falling apart. Yes, Emma agreed, which is why you need to decide what you're going to do with this information. Tell Robert the truth and risk his health. Keep Victoria's secret and let him go on believing Jennifer abandoned him for no reason. There's no good choice here. Catherine's phone was still off. She turned it back on and watched it come to life. 73 missed calls, 142 text messages, 3 voicemails, 1 text from Deborah, time-stamped 20 minutes ago. Your mother's stable but heavily sedated. She'll sleep through the night. You should go home and rest. 1 from Robert, time-stamped 5 minutes ago. Please call me. My mother told me she went to the hospital. Catherine, I'm so sorry. Whatever she said, please know I had nothing to do with it. I need to talk to you. And 1 from an unknown number. Miss Hayes, this is Channel 7 News. We're running a story on Robert Mitchell's secret daughter. We'd like your comment. We'll pay for an exclusive interview. Please call. The media circus had begun. Victoria's worst nightmare. Robert's private life exposed. And Catherine, who just wanted to help Mama with medical bills, was now at the center of a scandal that was about to explode. What would you do? Catherine asked Emma. If you were me. Emma was quiet for a long moment. I'd tell Robert the truth. All of it. He deserves to know what his mother did. And then I'd let him decide what happens next. It's his life, his heart, his choice. You can't protect people from the truth forever, no matter how much it might hurt them. Catherine looked at the river, at the city lights starting to flicker on as darkness fell, at the world that had seemed so simple 2 days ago and now felt like a maze with no exit. She pulled up Robert's number. Her finger hovered over the call button. Then she pressed it. Robert answered on the first ring. Catherine thanked God. Are you okay? Where are you? Riverside Park. I need to see you. There's something you need to know about why Mama left. I'll send a car. Stay where you are, please. The line went dead. Catherine sat back on the bench and waited. Emma sat beside her, silent company in the growing dark. The car arrived 15 minutes later. Not a limo, just a plain black sedan with tinted windows. The driver opened the door without speaking. Catherine and Emma got in. They drove through the city in silence, past neighborhoods Catherine recognized from her childhood, past the community college where her dreams of a psychology degree now felt like toys from another lifetime, past the hospital where Mama slept, sedated and safe from the truth that was about to detonate. The car pulled up to a building Catherine didn't recognize. Not Mitchell Technologies. This was residential, a converted warehouse in the Arts District, expensive but trying not to look it. Robert's personal residence, Emma explained. He wanted somewhere private to talk. They took an elevator to the top floor. The doors opened directly into a loft that could have fit Catherine's entire apartment building inside it. Exposed brick, floor-to-ceiling windows, furniture that was somehow both minimalist and comfortable. And Robert, pacing like a caged animal, his phone pressed to his ear. I don't care what the board thinks, Patricia. Tell them I'm unavailable. Yes, for the rest of the week if necessary. He saw Catherine and ended the call mid-sentence. You're here, thank God. Then he noticed Emma. You brought my lawyer. This must be serious. Sit down, Catherine said, please. You're going to want to be sitting for this. Robert sat on the edge of a leather couch. Catherine remained standing. She felt like if she sat, she'd never get up again. The exhaustion was bone deep, soul deep, deeper than sleep could fix. Your mother paid mine $5 million to disappear, Catherine said. No preamble, no gentle lead-in. Just the truth, sharp as a knife. She made Mama sign a contract giving up all parental rights. Mama was 7 months pregnant with me. She was legally forbidden from ever telling me who my father was. The color drained from Robert's face. That's not possible. My mother wouldn't. Emma has the documents, the contract, the bank statements, all of it. Catherine's voice was mechanical, empty. Your mother told Mama that having a baby would kill you, that the stress would trigger your heart condition, that if Mama really loved you, she'd leave and take me with her. Robert stood up, sat back down, stood again. His hands were shaking. My heart condition. She used my heart condition to manipulate Jennifer into leaving? She was trying to protect you, Emma said quietly, pulling the folder from her briefcase. In her mind, she was saving your life. She'd already lost your father to the same condition. She couldn't bear the thought of losing you too. Robert took the folder. His hands trembled as he flipped through the pages. Catherine watched his face cycle through emotions like a slot machine. Disbelief, horror, rage, grief, all of it playing out in real time across features that looked so much like Catherine's own. This contract, Robert said, his voice barely above a whisper. These clauses. Jennifer couldn't even tell Catherine who I was. If she did, she'd owe back millions. My mother built a legal prison around the woman I loved and my own daughter. She thought she was saving you, Emma repeated. She destroyed 3 lives to save 1. Robert's shout echoed off the brick walls. He stood and hurled the folder across the room, papers scattered like wounded birds. She stole my daughter from me. She stole 23 years. She let Jennifer struggle in poverty while I became a billionaire. His voice broke. Oh God, Jennifer must have hated me. She must have thought I knew, that I was part of it. Catherine shook her head. The contract specified you couldn't know. Victoria handled everything through lawyers. Mama was forbidden from telling anyone, including you. Robert walked to the windows. The city stretched out below, a million lights representing a million lives that weren't falling apart. I need to see Jennifer. I need to talk to her. Explain that I didn't know. You can't. Catherine's voice was flat. The doctor said any more stress could kill her. She's dying, Robert. Stage 4 cancer. She has weeks left, maybe less. If you show up and tell her you know the truth about Victoria, the shock alone could stop her heart. Robert pressed his forehead against the glass. His shoulders shook. Catherine realized he was crying, silently, the way people do when grief is too big for sound. I've been in love with a ghost for 24 years, Robert said. I built an empire trying to fill the hole she left. I've dated, tried to move on, but nothing ever felt right because I was always comparing everyone to Jennifer. To the way she laughed, the way she believed in me when I was just a broke kid with a dream, and the whole time she was out there, raising our daughter alone, dying alone, thinking I'd abandoned her. She never thought that, Catherine said. She didn't know if it was true, but she said it anyway. She knew you, Robert. She knew you wouldn't abandon your own child. That's why she made Victoria promise the contract would be secret. She didn't want you to spend your life feeling guilty. Well, it didn't work, because I feel guilty anyway. Robert turned from the window. His eyes were red and swollen. What do I do? How do I fix this? You can't, Catherine said simply. Some things are too broken to fix. You just have to learn to live with the pieces. Robert looked at her, really looked at her, and Catherine saw recognition dawn in his eyes. You sound just like her. Jennifer always said that life isn't about avoiding mistakes, it's about how you handle them after they happen. She's a good mother, Catherine heard herself say. Despite everything, despite the lies and the secrets and the contract, she worked 3 jobs to keep us fed. She never dated because she didn't want me to have a parade of strangers in my life. She sacrificed everything so I could have a chance at college, at a future. She's a good mother. The words felt like betrayal and truth at the same time. Catherine was still angry, still hurt, still reeling from the revelation that Mama had kept such massive secrets. But she was also beginning to understand. Sometimes love looks like leaving. Sometimes protection looks like lies. I want to pay for her treatment, Robert said. The best doctors, experimental therapies, whatever it takes. Please let me do this, Catherine. Let me help. The contract, I don't care about the contract. Let my mother try to sue. I'll bury her in litigation for the rest of her miserable life. Robert's voice was steel wrapped in silk. Jennifer is dying because she didn't have access to the best care. Because my mother forced her into poverty. I won't let that stand. Even if it's too late, even if we can't save her, she deserves to die comfortable. She deserves to die knowing she's loved. Catherine felt tears burning her eyes. She's going to ask questions. If I suddenly have money for her treatment, she'll want to know where it came from. Tell her the truth, Robert said. Tell her I know everything. Tell her I don't blame her. Tell her, his voice cracked again. Tell her I never stopped loving her. Not for a single day in 24 years. Emma was typing on her phone, efficient as always. I'll have the funds transferred tonight. I'll also draft a letter from Robert explaining everything, so Jennifer knows the payment isn't coming from Victoria's contract. It's separate, a gift, no strings. What about Victoria? Catherine asked. When she finds out you're helping Mama, she's going to lose her mind. Robert's smile was cold. My mother has controlled my life for 43 years. She chose my schools, my friends, my business partners. She's micromanaged every aspect of Mitchell Technologies. I've allowed it because I thought she had my best interests at heart. But this, he gestured at the scattered papers on the floor. This is unforgivable. She doesn't get to control me anymore. Robert, Emma said carefully, confronting Victoria right now with your heart condition. My heart condition is exactly why I need to do this now. How much time do I have, Emma? 5 years? 10? However long it is, I'm not spending it under my mother's thumb. I'm not dying the way my father did, working himself to death to meet her expectations. Catherine felt a chill run down her spine. How bad is your condition, really? Robert and Emma exchanged a look. Emma spoke first. Robert has an implanted defibrillator. It monitors his heart rhythm and delivers shocks if it detects dangerous patterns. He takes 5 medications daily. He's supposed to avoid stress, get 8 hours of sleep, exercise moderately but not intensely. He ignores most of that advice. I built a company, Robert said defensively. That requires long hours. You built an empire because you were running from grief, Emma countered. And now that grief is catching up. Your last checkup showed deterioration. The doctor recommended reducing your workload by half. I can't do that. The company will survive without you, Emma interrupted. Your daughter won't. She just found you. Don't make her bury her father before she even gets to know him. The words hung in the air like smoke. Catherine realized with a start that Emma was right. She'd found a father and discovered he was dying in the same 48-hour span. The universe had a sick sense of humor. How long? Catherine asked. Best case scenario? Robert sighed. With medication and lifestyle changes? Maybe 15 years. If I keep going the way I have been? 5 years. Less if I'm unlucky. Then stop working like you're trying to die. Catherine's voice came out harder than she intended. I don't care about your company or your legacy or any of that. I've had a mother for 23 years. I'd like to have a father for more than 5. Something in Robert's expression softened. Okay, I'll talk to my doctors. Make changes, I promise. Don't promise, Catherine said. Just do it. People in my life need to stop making promises they can't keep. Her phone buzzed. A text from Deborah. Catherine, you need to come to the hospital. Your mother's awake and asking for you. She's very agitated. She keeps saying she needs to tell you something before it's too late. Catherine showed the text to Robert and Emma. I have to go. I'll drive you, Robert said immediately. No, she can't see you. Not yet. The shock. Then I'll wait outside. In the car. Please, Catherine. Let me be close, even if I can't see her. I've been apart from her for 24 years. I need to be near her, even if it's just sitting in a parking lot. Catherine wanted to argue but didn't have the energy. Fine, but you stay in the car. You don't come in. You don't try to see her. Agreed? Agreed. They took Robert's car, a sleek Mercedes that probably cost more than Mama's total lifetime earnings. The driver navigated through late-night traffic while Catherine, Robert, and Emma sat in the back seat, three strangers bound together by secrets and blood. Catherine's phone rang. Gregory from the Sterling Heights. She declined the call. It rang again. A reporter. Declined again. Another reporter offering money for her story. You should turn that off, Emma suggested. The story broke about 2 hours ago. It's trending on social media. Every news outlet in the country is trying to reach you. Catherine powered down her phone. What are they saying? Everything. That you're a gold digger, that Jennifer trapped Robert with a pregnancy, that Victoria was protecting the family fortune, that Robert knew about you all along and abandoned you anyway. The usual media circus when wealthy families have scandals. None of that is true. Truth doesn't matter when there's a story to sell, Emma said grimly. We should schedule a press conference. Control the narrative before it spirals further. No press conference, Robert said. Catherine's not a story. She's my daughter. I won't let her be torn apart by journalists. Then they'll make up their own story, Emma warned. Is that better? They argued the whole drive to the hospital. Catherine tuned them out and watched the city slide past the tinted windows. Somewhere out there were people living normal lives, going to normal jobs, having normal problems. Catherine would have given anything to trade places. The hospital parking lot was full of news vans. Emma cursed under her breath. They're already here. Catherine, you can't go through the front entrance. They'll mob you. The driver circled to the emergency entrance. Emma made a call, spoke quickly to someone. Hospital security is meeting you at the ER doors. They'll escort you upstairs through the staff quarters. Go quickly. Catherine got out of the car. Behind her, Robert called, Catherine, wait. She turned. He was leaning out the window, his expression desperate. Tell her I'm sorry, he said. Tell her I never stopped wearing the Phoenix. Tell her I understand why she left. Tell her, his voice broke. Tell her I forgive her. Catherine nodded and ran for the ER doors. Security met her as promised. Two large men in uniform who formed a barrier around her and moved her through the hospital like a very valuable, very fragile package. They took service elevators, walked down empty hallways, avoided the main corridors where reporters had likely infiltrated. Finally, they reached Mama's floor, her room, the door that Catherine had walked through 1,000 times, but that now felt like the entrance to something final. Deborah was waiting. Thank God. She's been fighting the sedation, trying to stay awake. She keeps saying she needs to tell you the truth. She already told me about the contract, about Victoria. Deborah shook her head. No. She keeps saying there's something else, something you need to know before it's too late. She won't tell me what it is. She says it's for your ears only. Catherine felt dread pooling in her stomach like ice water. What else could there possibly be? What secret could be bigger than the ones already revealed? She pushed open the door. Mama was sitting up in bed, oxygen tubes in her nose, monitors beeping a steady rhythm. But her eyes were clear, more alert than Catherine had seen them in weeks. Baby girl, Mama said, and her voice was surprisingly strong. Close the door. What I'm about to tell you can't leave this room. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Catherine closed the door and sat in the plastic chair that had become her second home. Mama, I know about the contract, about Victoria paying you to leave, about the money you gave away. That's not what I need to tell you. Mama reached for Catherine's hand. Her grip was weak but determined. What I need to tell you is why Victoria really wanted me gone. It wasn't just about Robert's heart condition. It was about what I found out 3 days before the wedding. Catherine's heart was pounding. What did you find out? Mama took a shaky breath. I found out that Victoria Mitchell murdered her husband. The room tilted. Catherine gripped the bed rail to keep from falling. What? Edward Mitchell didn't die of a heart attack, Mama said. Victoria poisoned him. Made it look like his genetic condition finally caught up with him. I found the evidence. I confronted her, and that's when she gave me a choice. Mama's eyes filled with tears. Leave Robert and take the money, or stay and watch her kill him too. Catherine couldn't breathe. The hospital room felt like it was shrinking, the walls pressing in until there was no air left. No space, nothing but Mama's words echoing in her skull like a death knell. Victoria Mitchell murdered her husband. The sentence was so absurd, so impossible, that Catherine's brain tried to reject it like a body rejecting a transplant. "That's insane," Catherine whispered. "Mama, the sedatives, they're making you confused." "I'm not confused." Mama's voice was razor sharp, cutting through Catherine's denial like a knife through paper. "I'm dying, baby girl, and I need you to listen. Really listen, because what I'm about to tell you could get you killed if the wrong people find out you know." Catherine's hands were shaking. She pressed them against her thighs to make them stop. "Start from the beginning. Tell me everything." Mama closed her eyes, and for a moment, Catherine thought she'd lost consciousness. But then she started talking, her voice steady despite the oxygen tubes and the monitors, and the cancer eating her alive from the inside. "I was doing a shift at Mercy General the night Edward Mitchell died, 24 years ago, 3 days before Robert and I were supposed to get married. Edward came into the ER around midnight, clutching his chest, saying he couldn't breathe. Classic signs of a heart attack. We all knew about his condition, the hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. It ran in the family. Robert had it too." Catherine nodded. She knew this part, had learned it yesterday, though it felt like years ago. "But something was off," Mama continued. "Edward's symptoms were textbook, but there were other things. His pupils were dilated wrong, his skin had a strange color, and he kept saying the tea tasted bitter, kept asking Victoria why the tea tasted so bitter. I didn't think much of it at the time. People say strange things when they're dying." "He died in the ER?" "No, we stabilized him, got his heart rhythm back. He was weak but alive. Victoria was there the whole time, playing the devoted wife. She held his hand. She cried. She did everything right. Too right, if that makes sense. Like she was performing for an audience." Mama opened her eyes, and Catherine saw something there she'd never seen before. Fear, raw and primal and bone deep. "I was assigned to Edward's room when they moved him to the cardiac unit. Victoria insisted on staying overnight. Said she couldn't bear to leave him. Around 3 in the morning, I went in to check his vitals. Victoria was sitting by his bed, and Edward was drinking tea. She'd brought it from home, she said, his favorite blend, to comfort him." Catherine felt ice forming in her veins. "The bitter tea. I didn't connect it then, but I do remember thinking it was odd. Patients in cardiac distress aren't usually given anything by mouth except what the doctors approve. But Victoria was his wife. She was rich. She had that way about her, like rules didn't apply to her. So I let it go." Mama's hands were trembling now. Catherine held them, trying to lend strength she didn't have. "Edward died 20 minutes later. Cardiac arrest. We tried everything. Defibrillator, medications, chest compressions. Nothing worked. His heart just stopped, and we couldn't start it again. The attending physician ruled it death by natural causes, complications from his existing heart condition. Victoria cried and thanked everyone for trying to save him. She donated $1 million to the hospital in his name. Case closed." "But it wasn't closed for you," Catherine said slowly. "No, because 2 days later, I was helping clean out his room, gathering his personal effects for Victoria to collect, and I found the thermos, the one she'd brought the tea in. It had rolled under the bed somehow, gotten missed in the initial sweep. I was going to throw it away, but something made me open it." Mama's breathing was getting labored. The monitors were beeping faster. Catherine wanted to tell her to stop, to rest, but she also needed to hear this, needed to know what had haunted Mama for 24 years. "There was residue in the bottom, just a little bit, and it smelled wrong. Not like tea, like almonds, bitter almonds." Catherine's psychology classes suddenly clicked into place. Cyanide. Cyanide smells like bitter almonds. I didn't know that then, but I knew something was wrong, so I did something stupid. I poured the residue into a specimen cup and sent it to the lab. Told them I was running a tox screen on a patient sample. I knew the tech who worked nights. He owed me a favor. What did the results show? Mama's eyes filled with tears. Massive amounts of digoxin. It's a heart medication extracted from foxglove plants. In small doses, it helps regulate heart rhythm. In large doses, it causes cardiac arrest. And Edward Mitchell had been prescribed digoxin for his condition. Victoria had legal access to it. She could have been stockpiling his pills for months, crushing them up, putting them in his tea. Catherine's mind was racing. But you couldn't prove it. The official tox screen wouldn't have shown anything abnormal because Edward was already taking digoxin. The levels might have been high, but who would question it? He just had a heart attack. Of course they'd have given him medication. Exactly. I had a sample from a thermos that I couldn't prove came from Edward's room. I had no chain of custody, no official documentation, and I was a 25-year-old nurse accusing one of the city's wealthiest women of murder. Who would believe me? So you went to Victoria. Mama nodded. Stupidest thing I ever did. But I thought maybe there was an explanation. Maybe I'd misunderstood. Maybe the thermos wasn't even hers. I went to her house the day before the wedding. Robert was at his bachelor party. It was just Victoria and me in that enormous mansion. Catherine could picture it. Young Mama, barely older than Catherine was now, 7 months pregnant and terrified, confronting a woman who just committed murder. I told her what I'd found, showed her the lab results, asked her to explain, and Catherine, the look on her face. Mama shuddered. She didn't deny it, didn't even try. She just smiled, this cold, terrible smile, and she said, Edward was weak. He was going to run the company into the ground. He was going to destroy everything I'd built. I did what was necessary. She confessed, just like that. She bragged about it, said she'd been planning it for months, that Edward had gotten careless with the company, was making bad investments, was going to lose everything. She'd worked too hard, married into the Mitchell family specifically to secure her future. She wasn't going to let a weak man with a weak heart destroy it all. Mama was crying now, tears tracking down her hollow cheeks. Then she looked at my pregnant belly, and she said, I see my son has been careless too. Getting you pregnant, tying himself down before he's even built his empire. That's Edward all over again. Weak, sentimental, putting feelings before legacy. Catherine felt rage building in her chest, hot and sharp. She threatened you. She said if I told anyone what I knew, she'd kill Robert, make it look like his heart condition, just like Edward. Said it would be easy. He trusted her. He'd drink anything she gave him. And who would question it? Everyone knew the condition was hereditary. Everyone expected Robert to die young, just like his father. So she gave you the choice. Leave or watch Robert die. She gave me the money, said it was payment for my silence and my absence, said if I ever came back, if I ever contacted Robert, if I ever told anyone what I knew, Robert would be dead within a week. And baby girl, I believed her. I saw what she'd done to Edward, saw how calm she was about it, how certain. She's a monster who would absolutely kill her own son to protect her empire. Catherine stood up, sat back down. Her brain was trying to process information that didn't fit into any framework she'd ever built. You should have gone to the police. With what evidence? A lab result from a sample I'd stolen? A confession with no witnesses? Victoria would have denied everything. Would have painted me as a jealous nurse trying to extort money from a grieving widow. And Robert would have defended his mother. He loved her, Catherine. Still does, probably. She's the only parent he had left. He would never have believed me over her. So you ran. You took the money and disappeared. I took the money and donated it. Every penny of that initial $5 million went to heart disease research and sudden cardiac arrest prevention. I thought if I can't save Robert directly, maybe I can save someone else's son, someone else's father. The monthly payments, the child support, I kept just enough to survive, to keep us fed and housed. But I never touched more than I absolutely needed. Catherine was pacing now, her mind racing through possibilities and implications. For 24 years, you've kept this secret. For 24 years, you've let Victoria Mitchell walk free. To keep Robert alive, Mama said fiercely. Don't you understand? If I'd told, she'd have killed him. She still will, if she finds out you know. Victoria doesn't make threats. She makes promises. Robert knows about the contract now. Emma showed us the documents. He knows his mother paid you to leave. The color drained from Mama's face. Oh, God, oh no. Catherine, what did you do? I told him the truth, or part of it, about the money, the contract, the legal cage Victoria built around you. But I didn't tell him about the murder. I didn't know. Mama's monitors were screaming now. Her breathing came in gasps. You have to stop him. He's going to confront her. He's going to tell her he knows about the contract. And when he does, when she realizes she's losing control over him, she'll kill him. Catherine, you have to stop him before it's too late. Deborah burst into the room. What's happening? Mrs. Hayes, you need to calm down. Call Robert, Mama gasped at Catherine. Call him now. Tell him to stay away from Victoria. Tell him. She couldn't finish. Her body went rigid. The monitors shrieked. Code blue! Deborah was hitting the emergency button, and suddenly the room was full of people, all of them pushing Catherine back, out into the hallway where she couldn't see, couldn't help, couldn't do anything but stand there while they tried to restart her mother's heart for the second time in 2 days. Catherine's hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped her phone. She powered it on, waiting precious seconds for it to boot up, watching the battery icon appear, the signal bars, the flood of notifications she didn't have time to read. She dialed Robert's number. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Voicemail. This is Robert Mitchell. Leave a message. Robert, it's Catherine. Call me back immediately. Do not, I repeat, do not confront your mother. Do not tell her you know about the contract. Just stay away from her until we can talk. Please, it's life or death. She hung up and tried Emma. The lawyer answered on the first ring. Catherine, what's wrong? Where's Robert? I need to talk to him right now. He's not with you? He said he was going up to see your mother. Said he couldn't wait in the car anymore. That was about 15 minutes ago. Catherine's blood turned to ice. He's in the hospital. Where? I don't know. He just got out of the car and went inside. Catherine, what's going on? But Catherine had already hung up. She was running down the hallway, past startled nurses, past patients in wheelchairs, past all the rules about not running in hospitals. She had to find Robert before he did something stupid, before he called Victoria and triggered the very confrontation Mama had spent 24 years preventing. She rounded a corner and slammed into someone. Strong hands caught her before she fell. She looked up into Robert's face. Catherine, I heard the code blue. Is Jennifer? Did you call your mother? Catherine grabbed his shirt. Did you tell her you know about the contract? Robert's face was confused. No. Why? I was waiting in the car like you asked. Then I heard sirens, saw ambulances. I thought something had happened to you. What's wrong? Relief flooded through Catherine so intensely she nearly collapsed. We need to go somewhere private. Right now. There's something else about your mother you need to know. Robert's phone rang. He looked at the screen and his face hardened. It's Victoria. She's been calling every 5 minutes since we left my loft. Don't answer it. Catherine, what's going on? Don't answer it. Robert declined the call. Okay, I'm officially worried. What happened? What did Jennifer tell you? Catherine looked around. They were in a public hallway, nurses walking past, patients in rooms with open doors. This wasn't the place. Is Emma still downstairs? In the car, yes. Get her. Meet me on the roof. The garden level. 10 minutes. The roof? Catherine, just do it, please. And don't tell anyone where you're going. Catherine didn't wait for an answer. She took the stairs up, her legs burning, her lungs screaming. The rooftop garden was technically for patients and families, but this late at night, it was deserted. Just empty benches and potted plants, and the city lights sprawling out forever. She sat on a bench and tried to catch her breath, tried to figure out how to tell someone their mother was a murderer, tried to reconcile the Victoria Mitchell she'd met, imperious and cold but ultimately human, with the monster Mama had described. Footsteps behind her. Robert and Emma emerged from the stairwell, both looking concerned. Okay, we're here, Robert said. Now tell me what's going on. Why can't I talk to my mother? Catherine looked at Emma. You're his lawyer, right? Attorney-client privilege? Yes, but what I'm about to tell you is protected by that privilege. You can't tell anyone. Not the police, not the press. No one. Agreed? Emma's eyes narrowed. Catherine, if you're about to confess to a crime, I'm not, but someone else did, 24 years ago. Catherine took a breath and dove in. Your mother murdered your father, Robert, and she threatened to kill you too if Mama didn't disappear. The silence that followed was so complete, Catherine could hear the traffic from 10 stories below, could hear the wind rustling through the potted plants, could hear Robert's breathing, fast and shallow, like he'd just run a marathon. That's not funny, Robert finally said. It's not a joke. Mama told me everything. Your father didn't die of a heart attack. Victoria poisoned him, put digoxin in his tea, made it look like his genetic condition. Mama was his nurse. She found the evidence, confronted Victoria, and Victoria gave her a choice. Leave and take the money, or stay and watch you die too. Robert was shaking his head. No, no, that's impossible. My mother loved my father. She was devastated when he died. I saw her grief. You saw her performance, Catherine interrupted. Robert, Mama had lab results, evidence. She was there. She knows what she saw. Then why didn't she go to the police? Robert's voice was rising. Why didn't she tell someone? Why let a murderer walk free for 24 years? Because Victoria threatened to kill you, Catherine was shouting now too. She said if Mama told anyone, you'd be dead within a week. She said it would be easy to make it look like your heart condition. And Mama believed her because she'd watched Victoria kill your father with the same calm efficiency she'd used to order coffee. What would you have done, Robert? If someone told you to choose between the man you loved and exposing a murderer, knowing that exposure would get him killed, what would you choose? Robert sat down hard on a bench. His face had gone gray. This can't be real. This can't be happening. Emma was typing on her phone, her fingers flying. If Jennifer was Edward Mitchell's nurse, there will be records, hospital logs, shift schedules. If she found evidence, there might be some trail, even after 24 years. She sent a sample to the lab, Catherine said, had it tested for toxins. It came back positive for massive amounts of digoxin, but she had no chain of custody, no way to prove where the sample came from. And by the time she thought to secure it, Victoria had already cleaned out the hospital room. The thermos was gone. Everything was gone. Convenient, Emma muttered. Victoria's nothing if not thorough. Robert's phone rang again. Victoria. He stared at it like it was a snake that might bite. Don't answer, Catherine said again. Robert, if she even suspects that you know about the contract, let alone the murder, she'll see you as a threat. And Mama said Victoria doesn't make threats. She makes promises. She's my mother, Robert said, but his voice was hollow. She wouldn't actually kill me. She couldn't. She killed your father, Catherine said flatly. The man she married. The father of her child. What makes you think you're special? Robert stood up and walked to the edge of the roof, gripping the railing with white knuckles. I need proof. I can't just accept this. I need evidence. What evidence would be left after 24 years? Emma asked. Victoria's had over 2 decades to cover her tracks, to erase anything incriminating. If she's as smart and ruthless as Jennifer says, there won't be anything to find. Then what do I do? Robert turned back to them, and Catherine saw tears streaming down his face. Just pretend I don't know? Keep working with her? Let her run the company? Smile and nod while knowing she murdered my father? You stay away from her, Catherine said. You protect yourself. You... Her phone rang. Deborah. Catherine answered with shaking hands. Catherine, you need to come back. Your mother's stable, but she's asking for you. She says there's more. Something about a safe deposit box. Numbers. She keeps saying you need the numbers. I'll be right there. Catherine ended the call and looked at Robert. Mama's awake. Maybe she has proof after all. Maybe she kept something. They took the stairs back down, a strange procession of 3 people bound together by secrets and murder, and the desperate hope that 24 years wasn't too long to find justice. Mama was propped up in bed when they entered. The monitors were steadier now, but she looked worse somehow, more fragile. Like each code, Blue was taking pieces of her she couldn't afford to lose. Her eyes widened when she saw Robert. You brought him here? Catherine, I told you. He knows, Mama. I told him everything. About Edward, about Victoria's threat, All of it. Mama's hand flew to her mouth. Oh God, oh no. Robert, I'm so sorry. I wanted to tell you. Every day for 24 years I wanted to tell you. But she said she'd kill you. She said, I know what she said. Robert's voice was gentle as he approached the bed. Jennifer, I need to ask you something. Did you keep any evidence? Anything from that night? Mama nodded weakly. The lab results, I made copies, hid them in a safe deposit box at First National Bank on Maple Street. Box number 2847. The key is, she fumbled at her neck, pulling out a thin chain Catherine had always assumed held a simple pendant. But when Mama unclasped it, a small silver key fell into her palm. I've worn this every day since I left. Couldn't risk hiding it anywhere you might find it, baby girl. Couldn't risk Victoria's people discovering it if they ever came looking. Catherine took the key. It was warm from Mama's skin. What else is in the box? Copies of everything. The contract Victoria made me sign, the lab results showing the digoxin, photos I took of Edward's room that night before everything was cleaned out, and a letter, a full confession of everything I knew. I thought if anything ever happened to me, if Victoria ever found me and killed me, at least there would be a record. At least someone would know the truth. Robert's hands were shaking as he reached for Mama's. You've carried this alone for 24 years, protecting me, protecting Catherine, while I thought you'd abandoned me. I did abandon you, Mama said, tears flowing freely now. And I'd do it again, because you're alive. You're here. If I'd stayed, Victoria would have killed you. I'd rather you hate me and live than love me and die. I don't hate you, Robert said. I could never hate you. Jennifer, his voice broke. I love you. I never stopped loving you. Not for a single day. Mama's sob was a broken sound. I love you too. I've loved you every day. Every night I told Catherine stories about firebirds and second chances. I was really talking about you, about us, about the life we should have had. Catherine felt like an intruder witnessing something too intimate, too painful, but she couldn't look away. This was her parents, separated for 24 years by murder and threats and impossible choices. Finally together again. Emma cleared her throat. I hate to interrupt, but we need to move quickly. If Victoria even suspects we're onto her, she'll destroy evidence. We need to get to that safe deposit box tonight. Get those documents secured. Then we can figure out our next move. I'll go, Catherine said. The box is in Mama's name. I'm her next of kin. They should let me access it. I'm coming with you, Robert said immediately. No, you need to stay here, with Mama. If Victoria finds out you're not at home, not at the office, she'll start asking questions. You need to act normal, like nothing's changed. Catherine's right, Emma said. I'll go with her. We'll document everything properly. Chain of custody, photos, the works. This time, we'll have evidence that will stand up in court. Robert looked torn, but he nodded. Okay, but Catherine, be careful. If my mother finds out what you're doing, she won't. It's after midnight. The bank doesn't open until 9. We'll go first thing in the morning, get the documents, and be back before Victoria even knows we were gone. Famous last words, Catherine would think later, because Victoria Mitchell had spent 43 years staying 3 steps ahead of everyone else. She hadn't built an empire by being careless or blind. She knew exactly what they were planning, and she was already making plans of her own. Catherine and Emma left the hospital through the same service entrance they'd used to avoid reporters. The Mercedes was waiting, the driver professional and silent. They drove through the city in the pre-dawn darkness, past buildings just starting to light up, past early morning joggers and delivery trucks, and street sweepers cleaning up yesterday's mess. Tell me about your mother, Emma said as they waited at a red light. What was she like? Before the cancer. Catherine thought about Mama at her strongest. Mama juggling 3 jobs and still making it to Catherine's school plays. Mama teaching her to cook, to budget, to stand up for herself. Mama's laugh, rare but beautiful, like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. She was a fighter, Catherine said. Still is, I guess. She never gave up, never stopped working, never stopped believing I could have a better life than she did. She gave up Robert, Emma pointed out. Gave up love. Gave up the life she could have had. That takes a different kind of strength. Or a different kind of fear. Maybe both. They reached Catherine's apartment building as the sky was turning gray. I need to change, Catherine said. Grab my ID. I can't go to the bank looking like I've been awake for 48 hours. I'll wait in the car, Emma said. Catherine took the stairs two at a time, her exhaustion temporarily forgotten in the adrenaline of finally taking action. 24 years of secrets were about to end. 24 years of Victoria Mitchell's control were about to shatter. She unlocked her apartment door and flipped on the light, and stopped dead. Her apartment had been ransacked. Drawers pulled out, contents dumped on the floor. Couch cushions slashed open, stuffing everywhere. Her laptop smashed on the floor, papers scattered like snow. Every surface overturned, every hiding place exposed. And sitting calmly in the middle of the chaos, in the one chair left intact, was Victoria Mitchell. Hello, Catherine, Victoria said pleasantly. We need to have a conversation about what your mother told you tonight. Catherine's hand was still on the doorknob. She could run, should run, but her legs wouldn't move. How did you get in here? Victoria smiled. I'm a billionaire, dear. Locked doors are merely suggestions. Now close the door and sit down. We have a lot to discuss, and very little time to do it. Catherine didn't move. If you think I'm going to let you threaten me, I'm not here to threaten you, Victoria interrupted. I'm here to make you an offer. $10 million, cash, untraceable, in exchange for your silence about whatever fairy tales Jennifer told you tonight. She told me the truth about Edward, about the digoxin, about how you murdered your husband. Victoria's expression didn't change, didn't even flicker. And do you have proof of these accusations? Any evidence at all? Or just the word of a dying woman desperate to seem more important than she is? We have proof. Lab results, photos, a full written confession from Mama detailing everything she knows. Had proof, Victoria corrected gently. Past tense. Do you really think I'd let Jennifer keep evidence of my alleged crimes for 24 years without monitoring it? I've known about that safe deposit box since the day she opened it. I had copies of everything inside, and I've spent the last hour making sure those copies are now the originals. Catherine's stomach dropped. What did you do? I'm friends with the bank president, made a very generous donation to his re-election campaign last year. He was happy to give me access to Jennifer's box. Even happier to accept my updated documents to replace the ones that were there. So by the time you get to the bank tomorrow morning, you'll find a box containing nothing but Jennifer's original contract with me. No lab results, no photos, no confession, just legal documents showing she was paid to leave and agreed never to contact my son again. You can't do that. That's illegal. That's tampering with evidence. Evidence of what? Victoria spread her hands innocently. A heart attack that occurred 24 years ago? That was thoroughly investigated at the time? That every doctor agreed was due to natural causes? Catherine, you're smart. Surely you see the position you're in. No proof, no case. Just a wild accusation from a dying woman that would destroy my reputation and accomplish nothing except getting you sued for defamation. Catherine's mind was racing. Robert knows. I told him everything. He believes Mama. Robert is an emotional man. He'll believe whatever makes him feel better about being abandoned for 24 years. But belief isn't proof, and eventually he'll have to choose between his dying mother and the ghost of a woman who left him. Victoria's smile was cold. I think we both know which choice he'll make. You're wrong. Robert loves Mama. He never stopped loving her. Perhaps, but he also loves his company, his legacy, his life's work. And if scandalous accusations start flying, if murder investigations get opened, if the press starts digging into the Mitchell family history, the company will suffer. Stock prices will plummet. Board members will resign. Everything Robert's built will crumble. Is he really willing to destroy his empire on the word of a woman who abandoned him? Catherine wanted to say yes, wanted to believe Robert would choose truth over comfort, justice over convenience. But she'd seen his empire, seen his office, his wealth, his power, seen how much of himself he'd poured into building Mitchell Technologies into what it was. Would he really burn it all down for revenge? I see you're thinking, Victoria said approvingly. Good. You're smarter than your mother. Jennifer was always too idealistic, too concerned with right and wrong. She never understood that the world doesn't work on morality. It works on power, and I have all of it while you have none. I have the key, Catherine said, pulling the silver key from her pocket. I can get into that box, see what you've done, prove you tampered with evidence. Go ahead. The bank opens in 4 hours. By all means, check the box. You'll find exactly what I said you'd find. And then what? You'll have no case, no proof. Just a story no one will believe from a waitress no one knows. Victoria stood and smoothed her suit. Or you can take my offer. $10 million. Enough to give your mother the best care money can buy for whatever time she has left. Enough to finish your degree. Start a new life. Forget all this unpleasantness. Blood money, just like the money you gave Mama. Money is money, dear. It doesn't have morality. It's just a tool. And right now, it's a tool that can save your mother's life. Make her comfortable. Give her peace. Isn't that worth more than revenge for something that happened before you were born? Catherine's hands were shaking because Victoria was right. $10 million could buy Mama experimental treatments, could hire the best doctors, could give them time they wouldn't have otherwise. But it was also exactly what Victoria wanted. Silence. Compliance. Catherine disappearing just like Mama had, bought off and controlled. I need to think about it, Catherine said. You have until dawn, Victoria said. After that, the offer expires. And Catherine? She paused at the door. If you're thinking about going to the police, don't. I have friends in every department, judges, prosecutors. They all owe me favors. Any investigation you try to start will die before it begins. The only way you hurt me is by hurting Robert, by destroying the company and reputation he's built. Is that really what you want? To punish your father for your grandmother's crimes? Then she was gone, leaving Catherine alone in her ransacked apartment with impossible choices and a key that might open a box full of lies. Catherine's phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Everything okay? You've been up there for 20 minutes. Catherine looked around her destroyed home, at her life torn apart and scattered across the floor, at the key in her hand that might be worthless. She typed back, change of plans. We need to go to the bank now, right now, before Victoria can do any more damage. But even as she sent it, Catherine knew it was too late. Victoria was always 3 steps ahead, always controlling the narrative, always making sure the only choices available were the ones she wanted people to make. Catherine walked down to the car and explained what had happened. Emma's face went pale, then red, then pale again. She can't get away with this, Emma said. There has to be something we can do. Something we're missing. The only thing we're missing is 24 years of time, Catherine said bitterly. If Mama had gone to the police when it happened, if she'd trusted the system instead of Victoria's threats, maybe things would be different. But she didn't. And now we're stuck. They drove to the bank anyway, waited in the parking lot for it to open, watched the security guard unlock the doors at exactly 9 o'clock, walked inside with the key that felt like lead in Catherine's pocket. The bank manager checked Catherine's ID, verified her relationship to Jennifer Hayes, led them to the vault with its walls of safe deposit boxes, each one containing someone's secrets. Box 2847 was near the bottom, small, innocuous. Catherine put the key in the lock with shaking hands and turned it. Inside was a single manila envelope. Catherine pulled it out and opened it. Emma looked over her shoulder. They both read the contents in silence. Just as Victoria had promised, there was nothing but the contract. The original agreement Jennifer Collins had signed 24 years ago, giving up all rights to Robert Mitchell and their unborn child in exchange for $5 million. No lab results, no photos, no confession. Nothing that would prove Victoria Mitchell had murdered her husband. Catherine sat down on the floor of the vault because her legs wouldn't hold her anymore. She'd been so close to justice, to truth, to making Victoria pay for everything she'd done. But Victoria had won, again, like she always did. Emma was taking photos of the contract with her phone. documenting what was there even though it wasn't enough. "We need to tell Robert," she said. "He needs to know his mother destroyed the evidence." "What good will that do?" Catherine's voice was hollow. "Without proof, it's still just Mama's word against Victoria's. And Mama's dying. In a few weeks, there won't even be that." Her phone rang. "Robert." Catherine almost didn't answer. What could she possibly say? But she picked up anyway. "Hello, Catherine." Robert's voice was strange, tight, controlled in a way that made Catherine's skin crawl. "I need you to come to my mother's house. Right now. Something's happened. Something you need to see." "What kind of something?" "Just come, please. Bring Emma. The address is—" He rattled off an address in the wealthy suburbs. "Hurry. We don't have much time." He hung up before Catherine could ask more questions. She looked at Emma. "Robert wants us at Victoria's house. He says something happened." "That could be a trap," Emma warned. "Victoria could be there, could be planning something, or it could be important." Catherine stood up, leaving the empty safe deposit box open behind them. "Either way, we need to find out." They drove to Victoria's house, a mansion behind gates that probably cost more than Catherine's entire neighborhood. The gates were open. That was the first warning sign. The second was the police cars in the driveway, their lights off but their presence unmistakable. Emma parked and they walked to the front door together. It was open. Inside, voices, official voices, the kind that came with badges and authority. Robert stood in the entrance hall, his face ashen. When he saw Catherine, something in his expression cracked. "She's dead," he said. "My mother is dead." Catherine felt the world tilt. "What? How?" "Heart attack. The housekeeper found her an hour ago. She was sitting at her desk in her study, just sitting there, slumped over. Dead." "I'm sorry," Catherine said automatically, "because what else do you say?" But Robert shook his head. "Don't be, because I found something before the police arrived. Something she was looking at when she died." He pulled Catherine deeper into the house, past police officers taking notes, past paramedics packing up their equipment, past all the machinery of death and investigation. Victoria's study was exactly what Catherine would have expected. Expensive, powerful, cold, and there on the desk was an open laptop. "Look at the screen," Robert said. Catherine looked, and her breath caught. It was a document, a confession, written in Victoria Mitchell's own hand, dated just hours ago. "I, Victoria Mitchell, being of sound mind and facing my own mortality, do hereby confess to the murder of my husband, Edward Mitchell, on August 12, 2001. I poisoned him with digoxin extracted from his own medication, administered in his evening tea. I did this to protect the family business and to ensure my son's future. I also threatened Jennifer Collins, Robert Mitchell's fiancée, with Robert's death if she did not leave him and keep silent about what she knew. I paid her $5 million to disappear and secured her silence through legal contracts and continued threats. I have lived with this guilt for 24 years. Now, as I face my own death, I can no longer carry this burden. Let this confession serve as my final act, the truth." Below it was Victoria's signature. Digital, yes, but verifiable. Time-stamped, saved to the cloud. "She left a confession," Catherine whispered. "Why would she leave a confession?" Emma was already on her phone, taking photos, calling someone. "This changes everything. This is admissible evidence. This proves Jennifer was telling the truth. This exonerates her completely." Robert sank into a chair. "My mother knew she was dying. Her doctor called me this morning. Terminal cancer. Stage 4. Pancreatic. She'd been hiding it for months. Had weeks left. Maybe days." He laughed, a broken sound. "The irony, she murdered my father for control, and in the end, she couldn't even control her own death." Catherine looked at the confession on the screen. At Victoria Mitchell's last words. At the truth that had taken 24 years to surface. "She came to my apartment last night," Catherine said slowly. "Offered me $10 million to stay quiet. Told me she'd destroyed all of Mama's evidence. Made it sound like she'd won." "Maybe she thought she had," Emma said. "But dying changes people. Makes them want to clear their conscience. Leaves something behind besides lies. Or maybe," Robert said quietly, She finally understood what she'd taken from me. 24 years with Jennifer, 23 years with Catherine, a life we should have had. And she couldn't face dying knowing she destroyed all of that for nothing. A police officer approached. "Mr. Mitchell, we'll need a statement, and we'll need to secure that computer as evidence. This changes the nature of the investigation significantly." Robert stood, nodded, became the businessman again, controlled and efficient even in crisis. "Of course, whatever you need." He turned to Catherine. "Go to the hospital, be with Jennifer. Tell her it's over. Tell her she can finally stop running. Tell her—" His voice broke. "Tell her I'm coming. As soon as I'm done here, I'm coming. And I'm never letting her go again." Catherine and Emma drove back to the hospital in silence. The sun was fully up now, burning away the night's shadows. The city looked clean, new, like maybe everything could start over. Mama was awake when Catherine entered her room. Her eyes lit up when she saw Catherine. "Baby girl, did you get the box? Did you find the evidence?" "Victoria destroyed it," Catherine said. "But Mama, she's dead. Victoria's dead. Heart attack. And she left a full confession. Everything you told me, everything she did. It's all documented now. The police have it. It's over." Mama's face cycled through shock, disbelief, relief, and something that might have been grief. "She's really dead." "Yes, and Mama, Robert knows everything now. He knows you were protecting him. He knows you gave up everything for him. He's coming here as soon as he can. He wants to see you." Mama started crying, deep, wrenching sobs that shook her whole body. The monitors beeped faster, but this time it wasn't panic. It was release. 24 years of secrets and fear and loneliness pouring out all at once. Catherine held her mother and let her cry. Let her grieve for the life she'd lost, and the years she'd sacrificed, and the love she'd had to bury. "I'm so tired," Mama whispered when the sobs finally subsided. "Catherine, I'm so tired." "I know, Mama. You can rest now. It's okay. You can rest." But Mama shook her head weakly. "Not yet. Not until I see him. Not until I tell him."